Hello again, and welcome to another chapter of Tib Reviews, A Dance with Dragons. I'm here today with Chapter 8. And, well, the actual Chapter 8 this time. I want to apologize. I kind of got the count screwed up in the last video and said that was Chapter 8. Obviously, that was Chapter 7. I'll be better in the future. I'm sorry. YouTube, Reddit, everybody else, I'm sorry. Okay, so now that we're at the actual Chapter 8, let's talk about Tyrion, right? Tyrion's back again, so woo! Another quick chapter, but nevertheless, it's a fun one. We get to hear a little bit about Tyrion, and we get a joke, like, right off the bat. So they're heading towards Volantis, and I guess Tyrion had fallen asleep. He gets up, he goes to take a piss, and he sees these new people outside, and he's kind of concerned about them. He kind of cracks a joke that they might be brigands or something. We're not really, I don't think he was actually serious about it, but nevertheless, he cracks the joke, and he's like, well, should I get my axe? In Roy Dotrice's sort of like Welsh-ish hybrid type voice that he uses, which is awesome. It's one of my favorite voices. Maybe that's why I like Tyrion so much. No. Anyway, says, should I get my axe? And the guy's like, what can you do? You know, I bet you couldn't even kill a duck. And so Tyrion just like, produce the duck. And, you know, one of the two guys stands up and he's kind of like, I'm the duck. I don't know, it's funny. Then you get in his head, in Tyrion's head for a second. He's like, oh, gods be good. What did I do? I was expecting a smaller duck? Or something to that effect. But anyway, so we meet these new people. We meet Raleigh Duckfield, or Duck, as he's called, and the Halfmaester, Halden Halfmaester, or Halden the Healer, I believe was his other title that he used. That's kind of cool. So we meet these new guys, and Illyrio basically says, alright, this is kind of where we part ways. And he has a whole bunch of stuff that he's been carrying with him with pack mules, and they're like, well, we can't take pack mules, they're too slow. This needs to happen now. We need to go. And so they take all the stuff off the pack mules. I guess they brought their own horses, so they brought pack horses. And they put all the stuff on the horses. They head towards their destination. So they're riding through, and they're making their way towards the ship, the Shymaid. And we learn a little bit more about some of these guys. The Halfmaester's kind of quizzing Tyrion a little bit. He's you know, giving them quizzes, and they have this throughout this whole chapter. They kind of have this whole like who knows the most kind of competition, which would normally be annoying, but it's Tyrion, so who cares? And then we learn a little bit about Duck. How he was the son of a blacksmith, and he's from Bitterbridge, I believe, and the Lord had a bunch of daughters, but one son. The son was kind of a weakling and annoying and so forth, and despite the fact that he was really not good enough to probably be a knight, he was made a knight eventually anyways. So Duck, on his 16th name day, was given a sword by his father, who's a blacksmith. And the sword was so nice that the prince takes it. And the prince's words were, you know, you should stick to a hammer. And he went and got his hammer, then he beat the crap out of the prince, and then he had to run away, and that's why he's no longer in Bitterbridge. So that was cool. It's just another fun character. I imagine he's the new Bronn character that we're going to be seeing, at least for the short time. So they make their way through, and we get, you know, some stories here and there, but it's kind of boring. They kind of make their way towards this ship, the Shymaid, which is, I guess, a riverboat. And so they get to the little Royan. You know what? I'll be perfectly honest with you. I think of the Rohirrim, and that's screwing me up. So this might be a nod to Lord of the Rings, but possibly not. I don't know. By all means, correct me down there. Anyway, so we get there and we meet the new character. We meet Griff, and Griff he's got a son. I'm sorry, we meet the son first. The son has blue hair, which is interesting. He's like 16, and apparently Illyrio was really fond of him because he sent some candied ginger his way, in addition to a bunch of this stuff. And so we find out also that in these boxes and these packages that they had to put on these pack horses were armor and garments and stuff because they're going to a wedding. Perhaps I missed it, but I don't think they actually specify whose wedding it is or who is to be wed or where it is. But ultimately, basically, they're going towards Daenerys, and that's where he wants to go. So that works out. And so, nevertheless, after they kind of kid around with the boy a little bit, Griff comes out, and he's Sir Griff, I think. I don't know. Well, we'll talk about that later. Comes out, and he's kind of like, all right, enough lollygagging. brings him into his chamber, his room, his quarters on this boat, and I guess he is given a letter that Illyrio himself has written, but we're not allowed to know what he wrote. But the gist of it, I would imagine, is basically who this actually is, because the whole time Tyrion has not been Tyrion. Illyrio gave him the name Yolo, which I guess is a Myrish name, which works, but is kind of a problem because he doesn't look Myrish. So he has a couple new names, but Yolo is his Myrish name. So. But at any rate, the letter clearly states that this is in fact Tyrion Lannister, and this is the guy that killed his father. And they go into detail about how he did this, and then once again he's claiming that he killed Joffrey again. I'm not quite sure why, but nevertheless he does. And he talks about how he wants to kill his sister and his brother, and the guy's kind of like, and obviously this person is kind of mysterious because we don't. He keeps saying, I am not a sir, I'm not a lord, I'm not a this, but he knighted Sir Duck. So they say knights can make other knights. So presumably he's someone. We just don't know who, or at least that's what I believe. So at any rate, so he's got him and his son, and they're heading towards this wedding, and he basically says that, all right, you can come as far as Volantis, but that's where I'll guarantee you passage. And based on that and how you perform and what you do on this ship, although I can't imagine what you would expect of an imp. I almost said halfling. That's horrible. An imp or a little person on a boat. Not quite sure what the expectation is that he was going to perform. I guess perhaps if he just behaves himself, then they'll continue further. And so this is somewhat of a test, I suppose, to see who this, if he's going to stack up, and if he's actually this horrible monster, or if he is legitimately interested in helping out Daenerys and all this other stuff. And so this once again was a quick chapter that just, I guess, kind of sets the tone. So well, the tone for his story and where it's going to go. So I don't know. So it is kind of cool, though, to hear a little bit more about Tyrion. Obviously, we love a little more speculation to him. He gets a couple jabs in, which is good as well. We learn, some more of his backstory about some of the things he learned as a kid, about all the 7 wonders of the gods and the 9 wonders that men built and so forth. So that was interesting. And something else I found interesting. We have, like, they keep mentioning there's all these culls that are out there, all these Dothraki horse lords that are out there. But something has bothered me about the naming convention that they all have, and I think I figured it out, because you have names like Zeko and Pono and Drogo and all this stuff. They're all Marx's brothers' names. I swear to God, this is another spinoff that I have created here. This is, I mean, could you not hear it now? No, here comes, Khal Zeko, outside of horse, book, man's best friend, inside of horse, too dark to read. I don't know. That's my horrible Marx Brothers Dothraki mashup I did there, so. Alright, so this leads to again, talking more about these new characters that we're introduced to, and so we get a little bit more into the speculation.
Speculation! Warning. What follows is, though potentially awesome, purely speculation and could possibly ruin the rest of the book for you. You have been warned.
Awesome! Alright. What he said. Yeah, so obviously this guy, Griff, is not who he says he is, or he's hiding something, and so I figure he's going to play out to be someone much more important than some dude who owns a boat. And his kid is obviously going to prove to be someone of incredible importance. And this is not fair because they didn't really give us a lot of information to base this on, but it's just kind of the way that George R.R. Martin kind of wrote him in, and the way that he describes him, the way he talks about him. It strikes me as there's enough mystery and there's just enough detail that he gives them that this could prove to be someone a bit more important than we were told or we are led to believe in the beginning. Not that that's much of speculation, but yeah, that's what I got. So now they're on the boat, and there's other people on the boat. and they're all packed up and they're getting ready to go. So it looks like they're heading towards Volantis right now. So now we have a boat going to Volantis. I said Atlantis, Volantis, and well, I guess we'll see where it goes from there. So that's Tyrion. That's chapter 8. That's all I got for you guys. I'll be back pretty soon with the next chapter. Thanks.